You're watching Drakewing Gaming. Enjoy the video.
Hey guys and gals, Never here from Drakewing Gaming, and Softie Mounts the Gaming Dragon. Today I'm coming back at you with the Let's Play episode of Sileo, Ty's Path. So let's go ahead and jump right back into it, shall we? Alarm chain, you are up, and let's go. Alrighty. Great minds think alike, would you not agree? Great minds indeed. I will see you later on, Hunter. See you then, Ty. Can't wait. Neither can I. With a heartfelt smile, Ty turned towards his front door, one heavy pack held by each flexed arm, much like the day prior. I would never get tired of that view, and I had faith that I would never have to. My journey back to Diego's led me down that familiar waterfront path, passing the very spot in the river we'd swum in the day prior. Lost in thought about everything that had happened since, I got something of a fright when my phone began to buzz. Retrieving it from my pocket, I saw Dom was calling. I could only have assumed he wanted to know if Russell had kept his hands to himself, if I answered the call. Hey, Dom. Hey, Hunter. How was camping? It was really fun, actually. I had a great time. Ugh, don't tell me that. I already wished I would have come. Anyway, I'm on break at Lukas's right now, and I thought I would give you a call. To answer the obvious question, no, Russell didn't steal your man and doesn't plan to. Don't worry. Oh, well, that's good. I'm glad, but that actually wasn't why I was calling. Oh? It's about Spencer. Don't get too excited, though. I haven't found anything much, but... Oh, what have you got, then? So basically, the combat tournament? Turns out 3 years ago wasn't the first time it was held. It was only rebooted then. As we already knew, Spencer was already involved by that time, and subsequently records are scarce. But the weird thing is, they're just as scarce dating back before that, too. As far as I can tell, the last time they held a combat tournament before the reboot was more than 20 years ago. I don't know why it stopped and then came back. Like I said, records are scarce, but I did manage to turn up a name. Solomon Moreau. Solomon Moreau? Doesn't ring any bells. Yeah, nor here. And just was my luck, because just like our mystery Corvette, he's something of a ghost too. Are you sure this database of yours is any good? I know, I'd be thinking the same thing if I didn't already know better. So, who do you think this Solomon dude is then? I'm not sure. I've got nothing to go on right now. An accomplice, maybe? But an accomplice to what? And why the ties to the combat tournament? It makes no sense. Sorry, man, that's all I have for now. I wish I had something more. It's alright. Solomon Moreau is still a lead. I'll ask Diego to see if he knows anything. Right, and I will keep digging. See if I can turn anything up on Solomon or Spencer. Good luck, and thanks for the help so far. Don't mention it, and I hope my next phone call will contain some sort of breakthrough. Let's hope. Until next time. Later, Dom. Solomon Moreau. It was an interesting and seemingly unique name. I had certainly never known anybody with one like it. Returning my phone to my pocket, I resumed my homeward walk, desperate for my hot shower and a fresh change of clothes. Okay, y'all, this game is definitely starting to have a lot of weirder elements pop up. I'm gonna give my theory right now to what I think is going on. Actually, you know what? I'll do that. I'll save it for the end of the video, y'all. I'll save it for the end of the video. Anyway, not to break it up too much. Phew! I had finally made it home. As much fun as I'd had, I found that my main arrival in the silent stillness of Diego's home felt something of a relief, and I couldn't wait another second to get out of these clothes. I practically tore the dirty clothing from my body, caring little about where it might end up. At long last, I was free. I stood there for a moment while butt naked in Diego's living room. Good thing he was working, or he'd be able to get his revenge for when I walked in on him. I took a few deep breaths, mustering up the will to do anything but collapse on the hard wooden floor, before I finally commenced a lazy stagger in the direction of Diego's bathroom. Ah! The hot water running through my fur felt positively sensational. It only served to emphasize just how exhausted I was after everything that had transpired. And yet, that tiredness was easily beat by my desire to see Ty again that evening. I couldn't wait to admire his handsome face, gaze into his gorgeous eyes, admire his flawless physique, and catch his virile scent, taste his magnificent cock. I spent so long under the cascading heat, alone and indulging in my deepest, darkest thoughts. I hoped the result wouldn't wind up clogging the drain. Eventually, however, the water ran cold. It was time to go. Freshly dressed in clean clothing, there was little I'd wanted to do at Diego's house all alone that I hadn't already done. Thus, I decided I would venture into town and get some lunch, hopefully passing the time quickly before I was due to meet up again with Ty. I kind of want this game to have more side content in the future. Just interesting, fun little things you can do off the beaten path. I spent a considerable length of time in town, meandering around the mall and other localities, but yet I could not take my mind off of Ty. All I was capable of thinking about was seeing him again, seeing his smiling face, feeling the comfort of his warm demeanor. Being enveloped in his unique and incredible scent, I spared a moment to process a small amount of resentment toward Ty for having woken me to the wonderful world of scents and smells I had previously ignored. As much as I was enjoying it, oftentimes ignorance is bliss when it came to these sorts of things. I only hoped I could retain control of my impulsive nature with such an attractive new element in my life. Nonetheless, my anticipation to be in his presence once again was overwhelming, something that had resulted in my arrival at the agreed-upon location a good 15 minutes earlier than planned. Thankfully, however, that time would pass quickly, for you see, I had company. Afternoon, Hunter. You're early. Yeah, I'm aware of that. Guess I jumped the gun a little, huh? A little. You're not alone there, though. True. What brings you here so early, then? My kit sounded a little flat and out of tune the last time we played. Wanted to take the time to get everything sounding tight again before the auditions. Second hill. Water time. Well, that's a good excuse, at least. I'm just early because I can't wait to see Ty again. Didn't you two just spend 2 entire days together? Guilty as charged. Oh. Guilty as charged. I guess I'm more than a little taken with him, huh? I'm glad what happened didn't ruin things between you two. Did you enjoy the camping trip? I did, actually. Axel and his old friend Russell came along with us, so we had good company as well. We went up to this spot from where we could see Sidonia in the distance and spent the night up there. I know the place. Ty and I have camped there ourselves in the past, probably just as well as you both went when you did. It becomes a little inhospitable later in the year due to the cold winds. It was a great choice on his part. I could sort of look back to where I'd come from not 2 weeks prior, reflect on the changes my life has taken in that short time. Which reminds me, I wanted to thank you. Thank me? For what? I guess for everything so far. For giving me a chance to work for you, for looking out for me that day, for not yelling at me for falling asleep on the job. I appreciate your concern, Lucas. Concern? No, Hey, Lucas. Lucas didn't know what Ty had told me on that trip. Told all of us. Him doing so changed my perspective of Lucas. I'd already seen a softer side of him, but it made a lot more sense with the newly learned context. I understood his unfriendly disposition, his tough guy attitude, and perhaps better yet, I understood why he felt it was such a necessity, but I knew that underneath it all, Lucas was more kind and thoughtful than you might expect. Lucas and I made eye contact, his typical expression of irritation juxtaposed against a soft gaze, his green eyes betraying his gentle kindness. I cleared my throat and chose my next words with great care. If I messed this up, it only served to make him angry. Ty told us about his childhood and whatnot when we were hiking towards our campsite. He left some details out, but I know about how the two of you met. It's kind of amazing you've been friends for so long, even if there was that, rough patch. Ty didn't go into the details much about that. And I guess with what he told me, I feel as though I understand you a little better, you know? And I know that when things between Ty and I went south, you had my back. And the scolding you gave him? He told me you were right. You knocked some sense into him. He's as committed to our relationship as I am. I trust that he won't let me down, and I know that you played his part in that. So, thank you, Lucas. Thanks for looking out for me. Out for us both. There was a lengthy silence between us as Lucas redirected his gaze towards the wooden floorboards of the venue. With everything that he'd been through, I fully expected that letting down his guard around me, regardless of what I knew, would not be an easy task. After all, Lucas's hard exterior was a protective barrier from the outside world, from those who would try to hurt him or take advantage of him. It was a sign of long-lasting trauma. Although the consequences weren't necessarily a negative, there were advantages to being so protective. That being said, it made sense why Lucas was single. It's incredibly hard to form bonds with people, develop friends and relationships, and maintain a social life when you're constantly hiding your true self behind a wall. While I couldn't relate to every detail of his tale, I understood it regardless. In a way, I guess that made me want to reach out to him a little more, earn his trust. After all, if Ty and I were going to be together, becoming Lucas's friend felt like an essential piece of the puzzle. But I doubted that he was ready for that. We hadn't known one another for long, after all, and thus, while his response showed a degree of progress and promise, it otherwise fell in line with my expectations. I am who I am. Don't presume that you know me on some deeper level because you know about my childhood. Things aren't so simple. I chuckled to myself, delivering a wry smile accompanied by exaggerated nodding that screamed, I don't know what I expected. I reestablished eye contact and spoke to Lucas once more. Sure thing, tough guy. Whatever you say. Hey, what the? I broke into hysterics, seeing the look of total indignation on Lucas's face. You're on thin ice, Hunter. What, gonna kick my ass into low orbit? Maybe I could even find Eric up there. Smart ass. Ha! I'm only joking with you, Lucas, but one day I hope you'll become more relaxed around me. Lucas's irritated scowl continued unabated as I shifted to another topic. A curiosity I recalled as I'd mentioned Eric's name. Oh, hey, Eric seems to drive you up the wall, yet instead of firing him or dropping his hours, you keep him around. I guess I'm curious about why? I wonder that myself sometimes. I suppose despite obvious differences, I guess I understand him, relate to him, look out for him because we share some of the same scars. Scars? His childhood? Did he lose his parents too? Lucas remained silent for several moments as he took a deep breath. When he finally spoke, he did so with a grave expression. If only. Huh? Lucas's cryptic and eerie response sent something of a shiver up my spine. Something told me that Eric was a whole lot more complicated than I'd bargained for. I was thankful when a familiar voice would finally break the uncomfortable tension I had created. Yeah, that's what extreme childhood trauma does. You look for ways of covering that up and not having to think about it. So I can 100% understand why Eric is as into drowning his worries out with sex as possible, you know? With as much sex as possible, I mean. Sorry, I'm a little high. Oh. Good evening, Lucas. And a very good evening to you, my dear. It is, as always, a pleasure. I instinctively turned towards Ty, who did the very same, the two of us sharing a passionate, loving kiss in full view of Lucas, whose stony face remained entirely unfazed throughout. And I must say, it warms my heart to see the two of you chatting away. I do hope Lucas here has been on his best behavior. Ha, a little cranky, perhaps, but what's new? Lucas scowled at me, an expression which Ty immediately took notice of before erupting into uproarious laughter. My goodness, Hunter, it would seem you had run afoul of his typically merry demeanor. Just a bit. Well then, it sounds as though Lucas could use a change of topic. Shall we get straight down to business? Sure thing. Great, so the reason we are here tonight is that we need to find... The cranky bull spoke up, finishing Ty's sentence on his behalf. A bass player. Indeed. Of course, there's always the option of reaching out to a certain former member of our band. You know better than I do that isn't an option. I tolerated him at best. But you and him, we're on full-on feuding for years towards the end. Glenn is the kind of person to hold on to a grudge for a long, long time. And he's not the kind of person who'll ever change one iota. Indeed, you are completely right. I had something of a similar sentiment myself, but I gave him the benefit of the doubt and tracked down some of his most recent solo material. If anything, it would seem he only has further diverged since he hasn't been required to compromise. Thus, there is zero possibility that he would be content making the sort of music you and I so dearly wish to create. Furthermore, we are doing this for fun. It is not as if we require the money with our other ventures. He is not the sort of person who does things in half measures. Accordingly, what he would want from a possible reunion is certain to be in direct opposition to our own desires. What we are doing is only worth doing if we can do so without compromising in our intentions. And as such, I believe there is zero possibility that Glenn's inclusion would be anything other than disastrous. Well said. I agree. Hunter, what is your opinion? Huh? Well, my opinion? Of course, my dear, the more perspectives on the matter, the better. I know you guys have history and all, but is he really such a bad guy? Music aside, is it possible he might have mellowed somewhat since you last met? No. I'm afraid I must concur with Lucas. Glenn is nothing if not consistent, as evidenced by the band photography in the liner of his most recent release. Still doing it, huh? I'm not surprised. Doing what? Well, I don't suppose you have noticed Lucas's rather impressive size. Geez, how could I not? You're not much worse off yourself either. Precisely. Now, Lucas gave you a copy of The Blackest Day, did he not? Did you appear at the album liner, perhaps? I racked my brain trying to think back. I recalled a rather tasteful grayscale picture of the three standing atop some rocky outcrop somewhere, wearing their best wistful expressions. Alas, beyond the younger pictures of a relatively unchanged Lucas in a somewhat leaner Ty with longer and shaggier hair, I hadn't spent a great deal of time analyzing the details. I did. Did you have a weird overgrown mohawk thing going on? You had a weird overgrown mohawk thing going on, right? Indeed. The very night we disbanded, I took to it with a pair of scissors. But I digress, for my questionable choice in hairstyle is not the purpose of the discussion. You've gotten stronger since then. Lucas, on the other hand, hasn't changed one bit, but beyond that, I can't think of what else I should have noticed. Exactly. Eh? What if I told you the photo had seen some alterations? I mean, it was black and white, but I get the feeling that isn't what you mean. Indeed, you see, behind everybody's back, he gifted himself a few extra inches. I only found out when I got my early pressing. Eh? Wait, by size, had Ty been referring to something else entirely? Oh, God. Alright, I'm going to pause that one right there. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and check out our Patreon if you can. It always helps. Before I go, I'm going to give a quick shout out to our lovely bronze tier patrons. Thank you for all you do for the channel. We greatly appreciate your support. Thank you to our silver tier patron, Cade Silverman. Thank you for going above and beyond. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you to our 2 gold tier patrons, Zeke, and one whose name I have not fully memorized yet. I will in the next video. Alright, thank you all so much for watching. I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!